My name is Jeff Boucher. I write for the LA Times and for Hero Complex. And welcome tonight, Cabin in the Woods, Lionsgate screening. Did anybody go to Wondercon? Yeah. All right. Did anybody get rained on? Yeah. All right. Terrific. We're all in the same boat. All right. We are very lucky to have two filmmakers here today who are very, very funny. They have a band that they've started called Husband Bulge. And I'd like to bring them out now. Drew Goddard. Goddard. Did I say it wrong? I said it wrong? I said it wrong. Yeah. And Joss Whedon. I get that. How are you?
Hello, all. Oh. Thank you for coming.
So that movie's nuts. That's awesome.
It's a documentary.
That's great. So where, I know this has been an epic path that this project has followed, but when did it start? When did you guys start writing this?
During the Buffy years is when we started talking about it. It's for when I first said, I have an idea, and you said, that's awesome, let's do that. Which I think was all of our creative meetings before we wrote it.
Right.
I think it was
exactly.
that. Yeah. And, but it was a couple of years after Buffy and Angel had ended that we finally sat down and said, okay, we've got to like hammer this out. It's important.
What was the first sort of sense? Was it fairly complete in your head? I mean, the setup?
Structurally, it was completely complete, which was why we sat down to write it, because that doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
It's happened to me twice in my life, where you have an idea that has a third act.
What was the other one?
Afterlife, which I sold for a great scads of money and then was never made, which was my career before I ran Buffy. Yeah, this was the second time. Number 3, any minute now.
Shh. Hey, let
Hold
him
it.
think.
Wait.
Okay, we'll wait a little longer.
And you know what fun, all the beasties. I mean, all the creatures in this movie. I wish there was trading cards.
Well,
You know?
God willing.
And tell me a little bit about, I mean, you know, the release, obviously. This movie was supposed to come out quite a while ago, and through things way beyond your control, it did not happen. How frustrating was that for you guys, and what was the sort of the lowest point of that process?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you try to keep perspective. There's a lot of worse things that can happen to you than your movie comes out slightly later than you wanted it to. But, you know, it's frustrating. But when you see stuff like The Hobbit, what happened, in case you don't know, MGM went bankrupt,
Right.
Our studio that made this movie, and so we got delayed. But when The Hobbit gets delayed and James Bond gets delayed, you're like, there's nothing we can do about it. So you just, you just wait, and we knew it would come out eventually. We joke, but you realize, like, this is the best possible thing that could happen to us. We're at a studio that loves us. We're at our actors have gone on to become the gods of thunder, and so it is. You know, it's be careful what you worry about, because it's actually turned out the best for us.
That's great. And then, you know, because it did come to fairly complete, what was the biggest challenge you guys had moving forward? I mean, it seems like the tone was pretty strong. Was the tone pretty quick decision?
I mean, we knew what the tone was, but making sure that sustained throughout the filmmaking and the film was probably the hardest part, making sure it didn't get too jokey, didn't get too violent, like having just enough of everything. But, you know, as far as what was difficult about it, less than anything I've ever worked on.
Wow.
It just sort of poured out of us.
Yeah.
It's just, this is how we think. What?
And there's such a freshness to it. Talk about your sort of collaboration, the physics of your actual collaboration. How do you guys work together?
Physics.
I know, it's exciting. Is that like geometry, only harder? Okay.
I don't know.
You know, the thing about me and Drew is we are similar enough to enjoy each other's company and just different enough to keep surprising each other. Once we got to the writing process, we did actually fulfill the writer's dream. We locked ourselves in a hotel bungalow. We broke story in the morning and spent all day writing the different acts. We wrote the entire movie in 3 days. We had done a bunch of prep before that, and we did polishes after that, but the bulk of what you see on the screen was just the two of us just going over it. We never flagged. We didn't lack focus. If you've been in the room with a bunch of comedy writers, generally speaking, about 15 minutes into the process of trying to figure out the story, it's just dirty jokes and talk about snacks. And that goes on for about 7 hours. Whereas the two of us, we were so invested, we were so focused, and we knew exactly what we were trying to accomplish. So, we would just divvy up the scenes. There was never even an argument about, oh, can't I have that scene? Like, we knew exactly which ones we wanted to take and where we wanted to overlap. It was one of the most organic processes I've ever had as a writer.
It seems like you could almost have had a chart of the movies that you guys kind of reference or kind of nod to, or the sorts of genres and stuff. I mean, was it that sort of planned out? I mean, or is it more just the sort of vague?
Yeah, not really. I mean, we didn't want it to just be a mashup, but we are standing on the shoulders of some very tall giants. And so, this is just what someone asked me earlier, did you do a lot of research? And the truth is, this is just what we do. I mean, this is like in our spare time, we argue about what would happen if a zombie fought a werewolf. And so it makes it easier to do this as a job.
I love that the merman has a blowhole. Because if it's got a blowhole, it's got to be cool.
That's right.
It's like my motto. Well,
it blew blood.
it's a
You guys are
water
both
creature.
right. Let's not
it's
argue.
a blowhole.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Am I wrong?
No, it's all good.
Tell us
It's a very
about the
hostile
shoot.
crowd.
Tell us about
You're
the
doing
shoot.
great.
I can't see them either. It makes
No,
me
you
nervous.
you guys are a bank of lights with voices. So.
What was the shoot like?
It was good. I mean, Joss is right. This, of all of the things I've ever worked on, this was the most fun. We kept saying every day, look, if we can't have fun making this movie, we need to get out of the business. Because, every day you'd look at it and be like, oh, Japanese schoolroom, day 1, werewolf attack, Buckners emerge from grave. Like, if you can't have a good time and keep perspective, then really you're in the wrong business.
That's fantastic. And then it's a great moment with the mirrors. Sort of prepares everybody for the idea of perspective, playing around with perspective, who's who, who's the audience, who's the spectator, and stuff like that. Was that in it early on, or was that a flourish that kind of came toward later?
It just seemed like the next logical thing was to have a room with a one-way mirror in it.
Sure.
It just
As you do.
That's just normal, right? We all have that in our youth when we're. I'm losing people here. It just, again, I was watching it tonight and thinking, man, this is so thematic about, the male gaze and how we turn it around. She's watching him, all this stuff. At the time, it was just like, this will be weird.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. And then that basement, that must have been fun, just putting together, just the props and the set and everything like that. What happened to all that stuff? Do you have it with you?
Yeah, it's in a warehouse somewhere. But we definitely, a lot of work went into stuff that people aren't really going to notice until they can freeze frame on their DVD, because we really had to try hard to match everything that happens in the third act with what happens in the basement. So if you watch it again, you will notice all of the creatures have something that will set it off.
We really went through every single thing, and there was at least one prop that they were like, well, we can't get that. It's going to cost some money. And that was one of the few times I got to act like a producer and get it, go get it. Drew needs it. We have to have that in the corner. It was a fortune teller. Fortune teller was
It was the 40, yeah.
It was extra. But everything had a relationship to some idea that we had. And then the video crew came around to Drew and was like, now explain to everybody what all these are for the DVD. And Drew's like, yeah, no.
It is definitely hard. One of the hard parts about directing is every now and then you have to yell and scream about something as simple as, well, they're never going to know where the clown comes from. And then everyone, you're like, oh, no one, they just look at you like, understand how much that costs to do. You say, well, it's important to me. But, we worked really hard on that basement. And if you watch it again, you will see.
And you'll actually see more because this was sort of dim.
It was dim.
The light was a little dim. There's actually more in that basement. Although, the first time we went down there, it had been overlit. It was very movie lit. and Drew shut everything down for a couple of hours to get it lit, like just by the lights in it, to make it feel as creepy as it does, which I loved, because that basement is one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Yeah, it's really strong. Speakerphone, Merman, all strong, very strong.
Speakerphone was the first scene we wrote, actually. That was the first time we actually sat down, because you had pitched the idea, and then we just started.
I'm so glad I'm involved, because I think of it as your scene.
No, but we riffed on it. Like, we didn't have, you had the outline. But then we started talking about, well, how does the Harbinger call in? And it was really, once we knew, oh, if he gets stuck on a speakerphone and argues with the people, we knew, oh, that's the movie. We knew we had found the tone. Like, you can really feel like, oh, this is where the tone of the movie comes from.
Yeah.
It all converges right there.
That's great. Well, you guys want to take some questions from the audience? I think there's people
Yeah.
out
Very
there.
bright,
I
so
can't really
yeah,
tell.
Maybe
I
just
just-
yell your
yeah.
questions.
Does anybody have any
Okay.
questions? Hi.
Watching it towards the end, it started to feel very Twilight Zone-y. Was that any type of inspiration for you? Or do you look at it now and kind of go, yeah, I can see a Twilight Zone episode coming out of that, because it kind of felt like, aliens are watching those type of episodes.
I mean, it wasn't a conscious thing, but I mean, there's nobody better than Serling. I mean, we've both studied at the hand of the master, and so it's hard not to be influenced by Rod Serling.
It worked
He's
really well.
he's definitely a guy who peels away that wall to show you why you're looking at what he's talking about, and also so he has a place to smoke.
It's also like the EC comics. I mean, it's like some of the Wally Wood kind of the sci-fi things where the aliens creeping up behind you. Hi. Hey.
Having Sigourney Weaver as the director was wonderful, as she is such a mother of horror. Can you explain a little bit about how she came on board? And
Yeah, it's funny. We wrote the director very gender neutral. I mean, I think both of us were thinking a man, just because that's what we were thinking. And then as soon as we said, wait, what if we make it a woman? This is much more interesting. Sigourney was the first name that popped in our heads. And she said yes right away. And the great thing about Sigourney is, day one, she shows up on set. First question out of her mouth is, when does the werewolf get here? And she was so excited to see the werewolf. And we're like, you understand it's not a real werewolf, Sigourney. But she was so, between takes, she said, could somebody take my picture with a werewolf? And I'm like, yeah, I'm making a whole movie with you and the werewolf. You will have that for your wall. But she was so great. I mean, I was so nervous because it's Sigourney Weaver. And it's like my whole brain the whole time is like, don't talk about Ghostbusters. Don't. You're gonna start turning into the Chris Farley show. But she was so great. She was so wonderful. And like at the end, we wrap her, and I remember she comes up to both of us and she says, "Will you guys sign my script?" And we look at each other and I go, "You're aware that you're Sigourney Weaver, right?" And we're us. So it was definitely, I can't say enough good things about her. She's everything you want her to be.
That's great. Was there any creatures that didn't make it in that you wanted just for some reason or another?
Not really.
It's pretty
I
hard
was,
to think of any that didn't.
Yeah, we got
I
it
was
all
the
in
guy
there.
saying they're never going to give us enough money for a dragon bat.
That's right.
And then Drew was like, well, don't give up the dragon bat while we're writing it. Like, have hope. Choose life. And the dragon bat's he's really good.
Yeah, he likes the dragon bat.
So, somebody in the back, back there. I can't see.
Drew, can you talk about prepping as a first-time director? Did you spend a lot of time with your DP? Did you get to rehearse?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we definitely made a joke, both of us. We kept saying, look, the only people that are allowed to be learning their jobs on the job right now is us, because this is the first time producing a movie, first time directing. And so the trick was we surrounded ourselves with the best possible crew. And, that's what made it so much fun, is because my DP was spectacular. My production designer was spectacular. And you learn, like, oh, the trick to directing is just hire really good people and they just make you look good. Yeah.
Good to know. Anybody back there?
Yes, go ahead.
Josh, I noticed in the credits that you were credited as, I believe, one of the second unit directors. I was hoping you could talk about what you directed in your second unit, so to speak.
I don't know if you noticed a certain girl picking some books out of a bag, but That's some filmmaking right there. And one day you'll learn. One day you'll see what I can bring. You know, it just made sense because we were so on a wavelength in terms of what we were trying to accomplish, and very early on, so behind in our schedule, that I did, most of the second unit. And it was a good way to be there, get stuff done, but you know, I didn't really have to be hovering over Drew's shoulder because he really knew what he was doing, and I could check in and make sure everything was okay, and then just sort of accomplish a lot of inserts and smaller things that we needed just to stay on schedule. We got stopped. The scene where they go to the gas station was the first scene we were supposed to shoot, where they meet the Harbinger, and the night before it was snowing, and I called the line producer. I was like, that looks a lot like snow. And he's like, it's going to be totally good. It's not snowing where we're a little ways out from the city. It's not going to be snowing. And the next morning it looked like, you know, Christmas time. And then we were like, no. He's like, no, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So we spent half a day standing in the snow going, I don't think
While people blow-dried the snow. They actually got blow dryers out.
And they couldn't even shoot inside because the sky outside was so dark. So we lost half a day, and that sort of, well, that was a little tumble that we never got over for a long time. So scheduling-wise, it was a little bit crazy, but so I was just there to sort of basically back his play. Joe Montana, Steve Young. That's how I see it. Another sports reference.
Yeah,
I can make them.
Elvis Gerback, have a question. Hey.
When you were writing, did you find that the scenes broke down as you were splitting them up? Like, was there one person who was more responsible for the Bradley Whitford, Richard Jenkins portions, and one person who was more responsible for the kids in the woods, or how did that kind of split up?
I think it was pretty equal, because it was almost like having a draft where it'd be like, okay, if you get to do speakerphone scene, then I get to do wolf makeout scene. I mean, it definitely we made sure to have equal amounts of both.
We
because
both wanted to write both movies very, very hard.
Definitely.
And you didn't want one person to take something so much that there's a complete mismatch of tone. But there's a lot of stuff in here that I look at, I'm like, that's so Drew, that's so Drew, that's so, me, that's so Drew. But I feel like it flows, that's just stuff that we would notice. And I love that it feels, like it's one brain instead of two half brains.
The title is perfect, especially the way it sort of speaks to the genre heritage and all that. But of course, the movie opens up into so many unexpected ways. Was there any pressure from any direction to not call it that, just because of the fact that it may not?
No, but in one of the test screenings, it was one of our favorite notes. It said, because one of the questions they ask in test screenings is, what do you think of the title? And somebody wrote, well, clearly it should not be called The Cabin in the Woods. Clearly it should be called You Never Know, with an exclamation point at the end of it.
Clearly.
I was like, is that clear? I'm not sure that counts as clearly that should be called that. Luckily, the studio did not bow to that pressure of that one.
In Japan, it will be called You Never Know.
You never know.
different cultures.
Third highest grossing film in the history
You never
of
know.
Japan.
Well, you had mentioned genre, but it's really kind of not genre. It's kind of, if we want to call it horror, it restores my faith in horror films, because I got to be honest with you, I haven't seen a good horror film in the last 25 years. Probably going back to the 80s to Carpenter. This just, more horror, and I hate using that cliche or that, genre, but it's kind of more than just a horror movie, and I really enjoyed it. And
This is how a question should be asked. Learn from this. No work for us. Carpenter definitely a huge stylistic influence.
without question.
Yeah.
Without question. Yeah.
in my opinion, Ron's great.
Thank you.
So, until today.
Hi. I have a question, I guess, about the logistics of placating the old ones. So this might just be too nerdy for words, and I.
No, I promise it's not
already
gonna be.
awesome.
I promise
pretty awesome
this
already.
is something we're very excited to talk
So
about.
the fellas in the basement flub because they pull the lever that releases the blood into the carving of the fool, even though the fool hasn't died. So the blood isn't actually coming from the bodies of the deceased of the subjects. Where do they just have like a gallon jug? Like where is the...
It's like a scoreboard.
This is where Costco comes
First of
into
all,
the-
are you married? That is my favorite question ever. It's a great question. No, yes, it is sacrificial blood that they have had. It's a man mistake. It's a man-made mistake. It's why the earthquake happens, because the god is upset that they have pulled the lever too early. It is not the kid's blood that goes into them. It is sacrificial and ceremonial. Does that make sense?
It's like a
I don't know where you get yours, but for us, it's just.
cheaper by the box. Hey there.
I can't remember what newspaper or magazine it was, but I read that you called this movie a loving hate letter to horror movies. Why do you think horror movies of all genres is a genre that you wanted to write a loving hate letter to?
Well, mostly love because I love horror. Slight hate because, like any good nerd, I feel like I should be the runner of horror. I should be in charge of horror, and there should be a post and, throne. But I did feel a little bit like I was seeing a lot of the remakes of the old 70s movies and a lot of the torture porn movies that were sort of taking the rituals that I had loved as a horror viewer and kind of denigrating them, kind of making them, less interesting and less human. And so there was a little bit of a critique in there, but mostly it was just us getting to make a horror movie finally.
With a dragon bat.
With a dragon bat.
I have kind of a two-part question about like the creative evolution. I just want to know, first off, you said that the structure is pretty much set in your mind when you sat down. Now, most stuff at the beginning has a good payoff towards the end, especially in the control room scenes. But was there ever a time where you thought of having the reveal of like the group watching all the kids in the cabin being set up, like later in the movie, more of a heavier genre twist?
It's funny. Somebody else asked me this, and this is one of the things I love about working with Joss, is because he's very much of the opinion that you put all your cards on the table right away, and then that will force you to come up with new cards. And I feel like everyone else would make that the middle of the movie, where you reveal, oh, here's the guys. And there's something to you. When I first heard the idea from you, you already said, no, but we start it and we're in a break room and we're just talking about getting pregnant. And it's the exact opposite of every horror film. And when I heard that, I went, oh, I love it. That's the tone of the movie. And I feel like that's ingrained in your aesthetic, not to hold it, not to play cute with the audience. Put it out there and then it'll make you keep going. I might be reading too much into this.
No, that was. We always wanted to live in both those worlds, and we knew we had enough coming up that people might not expect. So we sort of felt like there's a two-part reveal here. First, there's something going on. Oh, it really seems like it might be a reality show, and then obviously, it has a deeper meaning to the people who are doing it to them. So knowing we had that in our back pocket, we were able to let it unfold like a story instead of just playing it like. I feel in a movie like this, if you spent an hour being invested with these kids and then suddenly went, boom, Bradley Whitford, he's hilarious, you turn on it. It wouldn't work.
Right. That's a good point.
Secondly, the kind of the visual part as well. Towards the end, you get the giant hand, the ancient one coming out. Obviously, there's a lot of Lovecraftian elements to their existence. Was there ever visually a different kind of design you're going for too? We're going to go more directly with the tentacle beasts and everything, or was that kind of what you always envisioned for them?
We definitely did discuss should there be tentacles, and we discuss that all the time. Yeah. Not just about this movie, but just in general, should there be tentacles?
Clearly, that should be the title.
But no, I mean, I think
should there be tentacles?
Like with everything, it's not bad actually.
It's not bad. DVD extra?
What's the punctuation? Is it a question or is it a period?
It's like a question mark in the wrong part.
Oh, I like Spanish. No, but what was the question?
Sorry. I'm
right.
Sorry.
No, you know what? Like everything in the movie, it was important that we created our own creature. We didn't just want to put Cthulhu on the screen. You know, like we wanted to create our own and yet give nods to those who had come before. I think that's what won the tentacle argument.
I also feel like I have an old sort of that sense of the sort of old, like the British legends of the giants that walked before us. That I wanted the guy with a hand. Like I think, we're giving it up to a different race of people who are going to be just as pathetic as we are, but in a totally different way. But I wanted it to have a human aspect.
Okay. Hey there.
Well, I have a question. I remember while this movie was being discussed and filmed and so forth, that at one point there was a decision that maybe would be released in 3D. Did you think at the last minute it should still be released in 3D? Because the movie is still great, even in 2D.
Oh, thank you. that third D, though, we had really something for you. No, no, there was a period in Hollywood where every studio wanted everything to be 3D, and it was weird. It was sort of like discovering fire. No one knew what it did and what the ramifications were. They just heard, oh, Avatar made a ton of money. Clearly, it's because it was in 3D, so let's make every movie in 3D. And so we had to sort of weather that storm because the studio wanted us to explore. But the truth is, I didn't shoot it for 3D. I wasn't planning to make it 3D. I don't have anything against 3D. I like 3D, but you have to plan for it. And so we, as good employees, we explored it and said, all right, we'll look into it. But then we looked into it and realized that we should not do this.
No.
Yeah. And so luckily, Lionsgate, to their credit, agreed with us, and that went away.
I'm told this is the last question before the giant hand comes through the floor.
Alright, there's the controllers seem to be experts, and there's a lot of variation with the creatures to show different possibilities, but there's never any information on how often this scenario happens. Can you fill us in on that?
I think what is sort of an annual thing, we all get together. I mean, I think they're working, they have to build the friendships, make sure they have the right mix of people and get all that ready over the course of a year to hit this weekend. So
yeah, I think they actually say that. We talk about it. It's every year.
Fantastic. Well,
Good.
The pheromone mists are kicking in.
Oh.
You are looking attractive.
It's the lighting. Joss, Drew, thank you guys for coming. Thank you for coming out. Cabin in the Woods.